is located. I believe that's your home, sir. Is that correct? That you run?
Used to be.
Used
was.
to be.
A long time ago.
How long ago?
It's no longer in operation. We moved it to Vancouver.
Okay.
So that would have been.
No, it was this
Okay.
here.
And I need to back up. Please raise your hand. Do you promise to swear or affirm the testimony you give?
Retroactively.
And do you affirm that everything you've already said is
Yes,
true?
sir.
Okay.
While we're on the subject.
Do you promise to swear or affirm the testimony you give today will be the truth and nothing but the truth? Okay.
Thank you for having me up here and allowing me to speak. Again, my name is Keith Killian. I'm the commander for the Clark County Sheriff's Office that operates the West Precinct. Beginning in October of 2010, New Visions developed a home similar to what they're proposing out here in the Hazeldale area. It was an old, established residential neighborhood. A lot of, well, it was very old and established. There wasn't very many kids in the neighborhood. And what kids were there were generally grandkids of the residents there. Our experience was just what Sheriff Johnson is concerned about, is a drain on public services. During the 16 months New Visions was in operation in my precinct area, we had 50 calls for service, in addition to everything else that we were doing, which generated 33 reports. Now, that in and of itself doesn't sound like a whole lot, you know, because we do thousands of reports a year. But this is specific to one particular home with a host of issues. I will say that most of the issues were contained within the four walls of the group home. There are either thefts, assaults, boys on staff, thefts, and runaways. But those reports that are required are very time consuming, and the runaway reports, for example, that Mr. Hall explained, when a youth runs away, if it's beyond their time limit, they need to call the sheriff's office. We need to go down and take a report, which is about a 15-20 minute report on the officer's end. Then he has to type it out. It's another 15 or 20 minutes. Then that information has to go down to our records division, which there's a gal in our records unit that has to enter in all that information into the computer because they're an outstanding runaway. So there's a wanted, basically, that the youth is wanted or runaway. That goes out to the state system, and then a few hours later when the youth returns home, an officer has to go back out there again. We have to take a recovered runaway report because the kid's now recovered. We've got to call down to records, and they have to take that person out of the system. So although the actual law enforcement contact may be minimal, it's all that support stuff behind the scenes that is very time consuming. I'd like to leave for the hearings examiner a spreadsheet that was developed during the time that they're in operation in my precinct area. Again, it outlines the types of calls that we dealt with, and we dealt with a variety. Kids threatening staff, kids assaulting kids, and when you get the kid-on-kid assault, they are in a group home or in the same home, so domestic violence laws kick into effect because they're roommates, and domestic violence laws are very specific about people living with one another, that the state kind of takes that a little bit more seriously. There's some assaults, runaway, pushing, runaway, assaulting staff. But I will say that most of the incidents were contained within the residence, with the exception that the boys weren't very neighborly to the immediate neighborhood, is our experience in Hazeldale. And also we also had a conditional use permits requirements that they weren't abiding by, so that's why they were moved out of that area.